Well, hello, and welcome back. Looks like we need to tilt this just a touch. Oh wait, why is this popping up again with the 2 minutes? So I'm AJ O'Neill. This is me live at work, and what we're going to do first is give me an extra second to do a couple of posts because no matter how many times I increase the number of the wait time, I end up not not finishing what I set out to do in time. So anyway, I'm just posting in the JavaScript channel here, and then posting in the dev chat channel here, and then posting in the let's see, let's get rid of my big whatchamajigs there, and then posting in the Forge channel here. There we go. So with all of that posting done, sorry, now we'll get into it. Actually, no, we won't yet, because I want to let you know about a couple of things. Primarily, if you did not get to see the unboxing video that I did, I would actually love help. I'm going to post this into the stream right now. So this was the M1 Max unboxing plus developer setup. So I mean, it's all real candid, like the way that I do things. So I had a little bit of technical difficulty at first, but we got the M1 set up. I went through all the settings. I think there was a couple of gems in there. It's kind of hard, going through the whole bit of it. Maybe if you listen to it at 2x or something. But I think if you're a developer, you're thinking about being a developer, or if you're just a Mac user, I think there's a couple of gems in there, things that you'll find out about how to use your Mac and how to get it set up that you didn't know before that might be valuable to you. So I'm going to go ahead and post that there. And then also, let's see, I had something else, but I don't remember what it is. So what we're going to do today is we're going to be working on same thing that we've been working on for a long time in pieces, and this is maybe the culmination where everything finally comes together. We're actually not going to talk too much about Postmark itself. I'm just going to do an overview of some of the tips and tricks I learned from them in setting up email. That's just going to be more of a review. But what we're actually going to be doing is finishing up. I've got all the mail templates are done using EDA, using MJML. I've got the new mail set up with Postmark. I've got the authentication changes that are done, and I just need to make sure everything's tied together and that it's actually done, and that I can deliver on it. So this is a finalization piece. So maybe there'll be some good stuff in here. So thanks for you that are joining in. I guess I'm AJ. I'd love to know who you are, what brings you here tonight, and just remember this word from our sponsor, but not really our sponsor. Pop top, friends. It's time to open focus. Okay, I did that a little prematurely. I did the it's great before I actually let it really settle in there and get a good taste of it. But that's okay. Sometimes we do that. All right. And as usual, feel free to ask me questions, to especially if it's on topic, but even if it's off topic, if I can't answer it right now, I will answer it later. No big deal. And yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and I upgraded to Monterey. So far, nothing negative report so far. Let me you mute my mic while I type my password here. I know it's kind of silly that that I pulled this thing off screen because, well, that's weird. Oh, it's changing. It's changing resolution as it goes from one screen to another. That's new. Probably a little quirk in Monterey. Yeah. All right. But so it's a little weird that I took it off screen to type because you can't see what I'm typing anyway. I don't know why I did that. All right. So we're going to go into this project here. And the last commit, I do want to tell you a little bit about it. So I'm going to see if we can just do a diff between these two things. Let me do a git stash. So we don't have any of that in the way. So if we do git status, this is mostly clean. Yeah, okay. And then I'm going to do a git diff. And I'm going to show you a little bit about what I did here And let's see, I want to get to a part where it's got some important stuff. So, all right, I'll just go through it. I'll share a little bit, and then we'll do what we do. Hey Kai, how's it going? Did you edit the setup? I kept on falling asleep watching it. Mute whilst typing. Can you deduce the password from sound alone? Yes, you certainly can. I've talked about that a few times because people do ask that. But yes, you absolutely can deduce a password from the sound alone in the same way that you can deduce a password from a touch-tone phone. Every key, you hit it with a different finger. It's got a different weight. It makes a different sound. It's a different distance from the mic. So over a period of time, you can use software to, this is spy stuff, realistic though, things that CIA, et cetera, would have, but also not so advanced that you couldn't get access to this kind of software. But it's sound learning, like speech recognition, essentially. You're just doing keyboard recognition. So very similar software to speech recognition, but a little more subtle. But yeah, you can do that. And then, did I edit the setup? I don't know what you mean. Did I edit the setup? Meaning, did I edit the live video and condense it down? No, I didn't do that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. There we go. Anyway, so this is kind of cool. If you are sending mail, I would like you to know about this because this can save your bacon. First of all, just check out the Postmark guides. Just browse through here, and they've got the best documentation anywhere. And I am convinced that their strategy, I mean, I haven't used every email server and I haven't used them all in, super big quantity, but just the practical and pragmatic things that they do to make sure that you get guaranteed good delivery. It's just too on fleek, as the kids say. I would think that if you follow their guides and you use their service, you're going to get better email delivery. And I'll tell you a little bit about what goes on. So one thing that happens is with them, they have this concept of a stream. And so their streams are either tagged as transactional or they're tagged as bulk. And you use different subdomains for different streams. And you'll notice when you get mail from large companies, they divide their domains. But you want to do this even if you've got a small business that you're working with, because their core domain, the whatever.com, is actually going to be polluted probably by their sales team sending out personal emails from their Google Workspace account or whatever it is that they're using. So you're actually getting dinged on your domain reputation for, say, login and password reset based on the salespeople using their normal work emails to do their normal job. So you actually do want to section off an account.whatever.com. And that would be a transactional stream. And then your bulk streams would be things. So the way that I split it up, and this would be, we'll get to it when we get to it, but basically it's this. It's either transactional or it's bulk. And it's either important or it's casual. So bulk casual would be promo. Bulk important would be legal notices, things that you don't really want to go to spam. Transactional important would be password reset, login from a new area, whatever. Transactional casual would be your notifications and activity. So-and-so added you as a friend, etc. It's not really that important that they get it immediately. If something happens, they're logged in from a strange location, you want that to go through quickly and effectively. So that's kind of if you set up 4 subdomains, account.whatever.com, activity.whatever.com, promo.whatever.com, and service.whatever.com, that would probably be a good segmentation. And they talk a little bit about this in some of their blogs, and then they do guest blogs on other channels and stuff. So I just started coming across Postmark more, and then when I really got the core of what they do, it's just phenomenal. One of the key things they do, and I've said this before, is they don't have a free tier. So you're going to pay, and the pay is super cheap. It's only $10 a month. So compare that to the other services that are, $50 a month plus an additional $40 for dedicated IP address plus additional for this for handling inbound mail and da. With Postmark, you get the whole suite for just $10 a month, and the reason they can do that is because all the junk users are off on Mailgun or whatever in the free tiers. So by getting rid of the free users, they can focus on just high quality users, and then just with all the other suggestions that they make and the way that they have you set up your domain records is different from the way that other services do. And so they just do a good job. So anyway, what I've got is a bunch of mail templates. You can see TMPLs here. And then the body of the message is going to be templated with the templating, the ETA, that's an alternative to EJS, and then MJML, which is specifically to work on mail templates so that all of the CSS gets inlined and it does all the things to make it so that it works in Outlook and yada, 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 right? So the body goes through that, but this is for the title, the subject, and some of the metadata about the emails that are going out. And so I say what stream they come from, and pretty much everything here is either account or activity, meaning account meaning transactional important, activity meaning transactional casual. And then dethreaded, I've talked about this before. There's a couple of headers that you can set so that messages don't thread even if they have the same subject. So for example, if you send a login request 2 days later, you don't want it to be threaded in so that it shows the two messages, for login attempts. You want it to be dethreaded so that the most recent one is on top rather than the most recent one threaded within. And so that's something that I set up, and I can show that to you later. But I've linked it before. It's also on the rootcompany.com blog. So if you go to therootcompany.com and you click the blog there, there's one about sending mail in Node.js, and it's more of a side note there. I need to make it its own separate article. Okay, so there was that bit. This is all just related to templating stuff. Okay, and then also, is it this one? Kind of, sort of. Oh yeah, preview text. That's something that's good to know about. Preview text is handled in MJML, but before I was doing this, which I think I got from Postmark, I don't remember what I got it from, but it's essentially you just make non-visible text with some visible white space after it, and then that is what will show up, not in the body of the mail, but in the preview text that you see in your mail client. Then we've got, let's see, that's all just yada yada. Okay, so here's where I set up my streams. Again, that's the Postmark terminology. So you can see I have my account stream, activity stream, service stream, promo stream, and then I just get these from environment variables. And the only reason I'm doing or string at the end is just to appease the type linter, to let it know, yes, this is going to exist as a string. Let's see. Postmark, they just do a lot of things to make sure that they don't get a low reputation. There's a lot of enforcement there, so you can't send file types that are known to be predominantly just for phishing attempts. And then I created a function that just wraps Mailgun the way that a Mailgun message looks, and then wraps it so that it is done the way that the Postmark message needs to be. And then I make sure that I replace, in the error message, I make sure to replace the server token header with just stars so that in the logs we don't leak our credentials. Yeah, here's the little bit where I'm just copying over from, here's what it looks like in Mailgun is all lowercase stuff, and then here's what it looks like in Postmark. It looks as though they're using Go, but I'm not sure if they are. Maybe, I don't know what other languages use this convention of camel case and JSON by default, which I think is a terrible convention. It should be snake case, of course. If it goes across the wire, it should be snake case. Goes in the database, snake case. Anyway, so yeah, and then the way that I just have a little function to do header values, and I have a gist for this as well. If anybody's interested, let me know. But it's on my gists, and I'll probably publish it at some point. And then the one bad thing about Postmark, and I may contact their support at some point, is that they do not have streaming for attachments. So it uses JSON rather than form data. So that makes it very difficult to do streaming because almost every form data library is going to have a streaming option, whereas JSON is typically stringified and then sent. You don't typically stringify JSON as you iterate over the keys. There are ways to do that, but it's extremely cumbersome. So that's just, one thing I wasn't too... And then I put this in my Node cheat sheet. Let me finish my sentence. I was a little sad about, I guess. But I don't do a lot of attachments. But if you do have big attachments and you put them in JSON, it's just, out of the gate. It's just form parsing is easier with form data. Hey, D-Larn, what's up? What do I mean by forming? What? Give me a little bit more context there so I can help you out. And then I do have a in my Node cheat sheet. Let me just bring that up real quick. And I intend to put this on the Beyond Code blog at some point, or the Beyond Code website as a cheat sheet. But right now I just keep on adding stuff here. But if you want to promisify a read stream, boom, there's how you can do it. So AJ's Node cheat sheet. It's just my little snippets that I realize, hey, I'm going to use this over and over again. And they're just too small they're not worth having dependencies for. It's just I want to copy and paste it when I need it. Okay. In fact, I took this from another part of the cheat sheet and modified it because I thought, promisifying a stream is a pretty useful thing to do on occasion. All right. So that's what I last did. That's what the result of the majority of my work at the keyboard today. Now I'm going to git stash pop. And this is all the stuff that I worked on in the last session when I was kind of hazy, hadn't gotten enough sleep, and was really just, I was a 1/10 developer that day. Some days I'm a 10x developer. Some days I'm a 1/10 developer. It all averages out. So this is just... I think all of this was done. I think it just needs to be tested. I think that's kind of where it stands. Oh, no, there was a couple of things. What we realized, so we had a little bit of a discussion about this at work today. It was kind of hilarious because my coworker and I had been talking past each other, and we were both thinking pretty much like, you idiot, why are you not communicating? What are you trying to say? We had to get a third person involved to do a little monkey thought translation, but then we finally understood each other. What we ended up deciding is that we essentially need a state parameter or a state object that we pass in with the email verification request. So when you create a new account and we want to verify your email address, we need to pass a state parameter in with that request so that whether it opens up on mobile or it opens up on the original desktop or it opens up on a different desktop, when they finalize the request successfully, they can get some of that state information back that might say maybe they were invited to a particular thing. So we say, okay, well, this is what you go back to, or this is the state that we need to transfer from one side to the other. And I thought that was a reasonable thing to do. So I still got to implement that. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of bringing that stuff over. And I have to double check some templates because unfortunately, I've done this a few times this month. It's exceptionally high. Maybe it's just, or in the last month and a half or so. But I have lost code, and I don't normally lose code, but I have put code in a branch somewhere, and then I've lost it a few times. And that's kind of concerning because we don't want to lose code. If we do work, we want to capture the value of that work. Now, part of what it's been is I've basically been prototyping out an idea. I've been doing a lot of work twice, just the nature of the beast because this is an existing application. And so I kind of go whole hog on it and do everything that I want to do. And then I can't commit that because it's too many changes, too much stuff that's backwards incompatible, but it kind of helps me get all my thoughts out. So I know, okay, this is what I want to do. I played around with everything. I got it where I want it to be. And then I'll go backtrack. So I'll put that in a branch and then I'll go backtrack and then I'll start redoing the changes in a way that I can actually get them out to development and staging and production. And the reason that I have to do it this way is because I don't know what the design needs to be a lot of times until I'm done with it. Because if I just do it incrementally and I try to get it live incrementally, then when I try to undo something, I'm going to have to do more undoing. So maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong about this approach, but it seems to be that for certain cases, it's better for me to just get everything out of my head, get a working implementation in my dev environment, and then go back and make incremental changes towards that once I understand what the scope of the change is going to entail and the unexpected details. And then let's see what we got here. Form data. Oh, yeah, if I said forming, I definitely meant to say form data. Hold on just one second. The winter is upon us and my hands are starting to get dry. Oh, there we go. All right, so that all explained. Here we are at the last little bits, hopefully, maybe, who knows. Let me make sure. I've got unstaged changes. What are my unstaged changes here? I just moved something around. I renamed a couple of things. This is not important. Duration's important. Verification is important. And then I need to get the state. Yeah, I finally realized that the correct name for this, I didn't like to call it max age, so I put an underscore in front of it because I said, I want to propagate this information, but I'm not quite sure what it should be called. But I realized it should definitely be called duration because this is the human readable duration that's going to be in the mail templates and stuff. And that turns out to be really useful to have in that form. Yeah, so I was just renaming something. So what I've got here, this looks all pretty good. So I think what I need to do is we need to go to lib challenge. No, now it's called verifier. Let me go check what we got. Some comments here. Indoor Traveler. Hello, Indoor Traveler. I saw you on the stream the other day. I don't remember what conversation we had, so you have to forgive me. Feel free to help me remember. And then switch. Oh, it's Mike. Oh, okay. Okay. All right. Hey, Mike. How's it going? It's good to see you. Thanks for joining in. So where I want to do something about this is probably, let's see. So we have our challenge.create, which since I renamed this to verifier, maybe I should rename it to verification.create. But we've got this. We're taking the rec object just because I don't want to put, for things that might need to be overwritten by whoever, including myself, I want to make sure, one of my big frustrations, as I mentioned before with Passport, is it's too much abstraction. It's too simplified. And if you need to pass a special parameter or you want to do some sort of additional validation, such as checking an IP address, then you have to write the whole system of abstraction around it. So I'm trying to make sure that in places where I think, hey, we might want some arbitrary stuff in here, that you get the rec object so you can do whatever it is that you want, and then provide some places where some additional options can be passed in where that makes sense. But where we're creating the challenge, I think it's really where we're setting the challenge. Do I want to just make a standard part? And I think there's two more pieces of this that I want, which I hesitate to make it part of the API, but I think that it's going to be really, really common. Oh, bless me. Oh, that's me again. I think that we're going to want, I'm gonna put this in another piece. I think that we're gonna want a template value. I don't know if that's the right name for it, but whenever there's multiple different types of challenges and you're going to be doing one type of challenge versus another. So for example, the magic link login versus forgot password versus invite new user, etc. And so, yeah, I guess this mechanism is as generic as it needs to be. And that's all good enough, I would say. Maybe ops should pass through to notify here. I'll just throw that in there. I'm not really sure. I'm not sold on that. Do we need ops? But I'll just throw it in there for now as a marker. And plus my linter complains about it, so it'll remind me to go back there and think about that. So this is basically a light abstraction around this verification object that has an ID, a code, and the user agent, just some information about the request that helps will help us do some checks, some both the authentication piece as well as some of the security check pieces. But I don't think I need to do anything else in here. So for example here, when we redeem the verification process, we set what the IP address that was used to do that final verification, what the user agent was, etc. Okay, so yeah, I don't think I need to be in here for anything else. I'm going to go ahead and get out. I think what I need to be in is it still called Magic Link? Yeah. So I need to worry about, let me go back up to where the routes are right here. So I need to worry about order, finalize, and exchange, these three. So I'm just going to mark these with to do XXXX. That's order, finalize, exchange. So that's what I need to worry about right now. I don't think I want to put this in status, but this is where I should receive that state object. And then this is where I should make sure I pass back the state object. So we're going to go take a look at that order verification. Let me go see what we got in the comments here. Hey, what's up, Will? Oh, and by the way, while everybody is here, again, we haven't really done much with the Discord. It's more, I just announce, hey, I've gone live. Or an hour beforehand, hey, I'm getting ready, and then I have to put the kids to bed, or whatever, and then an hour later. But when I do finally go live, I announce it here. So for everybody that wants to join in on the Discord, make yourself at home. Just not too much at home, because some of you have really weird habits about what you do at home, and just don't bring that in my Discord, okay? Our Discord. I'm trying to use we language more often, tribal leadership and all that. I'm trying to get myself in that mentality. It is our Discord. It's not really my Discord. The reason being is I'm not even the one that wanted. I wasn't like, hey, let's do a Discord. And I said I'm trying to get rid of that. I've been doing pretty well. But I wasn't the one thinking or saying, hey, let's do Discord. Somebody else said it, and I said, okay, well, why not? And I think it's cool. It's working out all right. Okay, so we've got rec here, and we got the dev code, we got the identifier, and I think maybe we should just do let state equals rec.body.state. Although body should always exist there, and if we don't, if these don't exist, then it's going to throw an error in a second anyway. So I don't know. All right, but we're going to do state. And then I'm going to go ahead, and that state is just going to be arbitrary stuff. So I'm going to say c.state equals state, and that's going to go into the JSON blob in the database. And then, yeah, it's going to get saved there, and that's all good. And then with the result, I don't need to hand back the state. And then this, maybe I'll even get rid of this at some point. This is just a bunch of crazy stuff to say, for the purposes of testing, allow the code to be sent back Well, actually, let's see. When we do this set, yeah, we don't mess with the original one there. So allow the code to be passed back for testing under the conditions that it's localhost and that this development option is turned on and yada yada. It's too complex, too complicated really. I need to simplify that down quite a bit and make this. Maybe I could even just do this. So send requested. Whoops. Dev send. Let's just do this. I don't even know if that's the right way to go about it. Okay, so if dev send code and let is localhost is local, let's say. Was that right? Did I do that right? Hold on. Let's see. This is why we know it's too complicated, because I'm having to think about it here. So that doesn't quite seem right. Okay, so if the remote is localhost, it seems that should be an and, not an or. I'm a little confused about what that was supposed to be. So let's redo that real quick. Localhost. Okay. Really not sure what that was supposed to mean. That doesn't look right at all. I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be an and. That's okay. I'd rather break the test and then go back and fix it than have complicated looking crap like that is going to result in errors, which it probably already did. But at least the error was scoped to the development mode. All right, let me check and see what we got over here. Oh, okay. No more comments yet. All right. So got that fixed up. And yeah, I don't need that to go out. So well, let's just call that state parameter. This is just arbitrary client state. So that persisted. No, what's the right word? So that when verification request is sent from desktop and responded to on mobile or vice versa, we can rehydrate the client can rehydrate something meaningful. That's garbage. Oh well. Okay. Boop boop. There we go. I'll just go with that. And I've said this before, but I like to have all of my manipulation of request objects up at the top and then not reference them anywhere else. If they're sent, for example, here, this is meaningfully sent wholesale. Oh, there's one where I am doing the IP thing, but that's also development. So, but that makes it easier as things get bigger and you start to break it out into model, controller, router, etc. If you have all of your manipulation of the request and response objects either at the very top or at the very bottom, then when you go to pull that out, you have an easier time refactoring. So that's why I do that way. And then what would we have? Order verification. So I can get rid of that to do. And then redeem code. Let's go take a look at that one. And then here, I think what I want to do is just make sure. Let's see, do I want to send the state through there? Actually, I think I do. Hold on, I'm going to go back here. Because I think I actually want to send the state through, where's notify? Well, notify gets this anyway. So we don't need to worry about that one. Maybe we do. Let me go take a look back in here. So we have the verifier. Notify, excuse me. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and say state is c.state. That's good enough for me. And then I probably need to put state in here. And we're going to make that an any. Auth in param. I think there's only one or two places where we need to use that. Notify, is that it? Set defaults. That's just to set it. So notify is the only place where we even use auth in param, which makes it a good candidate to just not do that, period. But whatever. All right. Going back to Magic Link. And this was in, okay, that's order verification. Doesn't matter that we have anything there. Going back in the response because they just sent it to us. They don't need the state in the response. But here, where we have a successful redemption, I think that I would like to put the state in the auth param object that goes around. And I also think that I would like to have the state go back into the response to the client. And this is one where also I may want to invert the control here. Make this something that gets called rather than something that finalizes. Because the problem that we run into here is where this is one layer of encapsulation too deep, but I don't know what to do about it because I shouldn't be handling the final response here. That should be the responsibility of whoever is using this code, should be the one to call res.json, because they might want to modify this object, and we've run into that case ourselves. So the they is the us. But again, it's, making it too simple in terms of the user experience to the point that it's not customizable. That's the thing that I really don't like about Passport. On the other hand, you can have just as many, you can have too many layers of composition. You can reducing the abstraction, but having so much composition that then, it's just obnoxious, because right now already I am putting the verifier redeem is in here, and then there's the route redeem in here. And so then if we were to take this one layer out and expose it in the way that we need to in order for this res.json to be called. Oh, no, wait. Oh, wait, never mind. I already did it. No, it's all good. It is actually all good because, let's see. But do they get, yeah, they get it all right here. Okay, never mind. Now, oh, it's duh. I've got it marked right here. Deprecate remove. Okay, I already figured out what to do. So the right way to handle it is get claims is no longer get claims. That variable needs to be renamed. It is now, I don't know exactly what it is. It's handle auth request, something of that nature. So now this is the backwards compatibility layer. And this is where that should actually be handled. So, yeah, so that inversion of control has already been written into the code where this is going to be composed, but then the user is going to get a notification, hey, the challenge process took place. Now, what I do need, what I want to have here is this does not, there's a sub-strategy here. So the top level strategy is challenge, but this does not make clear whether it is being that it's the code being redeemed or whether it's the receipt being exchanged, because we have code and receipt is my terminology for the original device gets the receipt, and then a secondary device gets the code. So again, I can make the request on desktop and then open my phone and click the link there, and I should get logged in either or both places. So the original gets the receipt for the authentication request, and then the code is sent, and the code can be redeemed and the receipt can be exchanged, which maybe that's bad terminology. If you know of a better way to describe that, please let me know. I'd love to hear what it is. All right, so that's good. I just need to make sure that this, so yeah, the two things are, one, how do I signal that this is a redemption? I think I'm just going to put something in here for now, which is verification style type. I don't know. I don't know what to call this. Method. This is, and that's overloaded because I already mean something. Let's just call this style. No, that's overloaded. I don't know, but this is redeem. Exchange type. I don't know, but I'm just prefixing it with an underscore here to say, I think this needs to be exposed in some way. We'll figure it out later. Right now, I don't actually know that it needs to be exposed. I'm just supposing that it will need to be exposed. And then email, I already want to get rid of because we can have email or phone, which is why I did type in value, but then type in value isn't super specific. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Okay, but this one is now looking good enough, I would say. I think. All right. And then on the other side, the status check still does not have this nice escape hatch from the abstraction. I might need to think about that as well. Where did I decide to put state here? I didn't list them alphabetically because I was trying to think about it in some logical way that probably failed. Verification is C. That also seems off. I don't need that because the whole reason I was doing verification is C is because I was thinking that there might be arbitrary things that we'd want to put in there, but actually there aren't because that's what I have state for. So I'm going to put an underscore on that one. So we'll leave it there. So we've got an escape hatch for dev purposes, but that'll go away. By the way, feel free to ask questions. Hello to those of you joining in. I'm AJ. Would love to know who you are, where you're from, what brings you to the channel tonight. Let's see here. Where did my state go? Did I lose my state? I think I did. All right. Put that there, and then in the response, we can put that there as well. And then is there anything else that we would have needed in this? I suppose, could we... I don't want to release the state unless the thing has been verified. But check status This one is unique in that it is completely autonomous. It does not have any escape hatch. And I don't know what the escape hatch would be. But I think it should have one. I'm just going to put it to do here. To do, what should be the escape hatch? And this is almost so simple. It seems that this could be up to... yeah, it seems that there should be a way to expose this, and the escape hatch would just be overwrite check status. I think that makes sense. Okay, so what should the escape hatch be for taking control of the response? I'm just going to put if escape hatch give back control rec res. And let me go make sure that these Git claims have been updated. Yeah, they all do. Because this wouldn't really be a Git claims thing. Well, again, even Git claims itself is not a Git claims thing. It should be a login handler. But, or I don't know what the name for it is, but it's, there needs to be something. I think I've got a kernel of an idea of what to do with this. I'm not 100% clear on it. It's one of the directed graph problems where there's a little bit of interaction between the verifier and this, auth in a box type routing that it's offering. So my example of that being, here's the verifier. There's not a whole lot that's being done here, but we have this escape hatch where you don't have to interact with the verifier directly. But then the layer is so thin on the check status. I don't know if what I'm saying makes sense. Feel free to ask clarifying questions, because this is kind of terminology I've built in my own head, and I haven't been talking about it a lot with others. So my wording is going to be a little bit wrong, and me being able to have better wording that is more easily understood would be a benefit. So. But, okay, here's the problem. So this check status route, it's encapsulated, it's taken away from the concern of the user of the library. It does everything it needs to do, but if someone were if we have a way to give back control, seems like they might actually want to call this function themselves. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm in the weeds. I'm going to get out of there. Okay. Let me take a look at what I just did. I should have done a git add before I made any more of these changes. Okay. I want to look up one layer. Here's my by challenge. This is where the magic link thing comes from. Again, I was calling this magic link, and then I started calling it challenge, and then I started calling it verifier. So I got 3 different names for it. But they are subtly different because you are using the challenge mechanism process when you do this, or you could call it a verification process, and there's a verifier or whatever. So what could there be as an escape hatch? First of all, let me see, where's all am I using git claims? Because this is now a really bad name. That's just going to be super confusing. By the way, Will, this is code that is in our application. Well, I think you already knew that because I think we talked about this before. So we've got this very generic git claims, but what should it actually be called? It's really, I mean, it's become quite generic. Strategy handler. I think that's essentially what it is. There's a refresh strategy. There's an exchange strategy. There's the generic, just something to deal with authentication claims. So I think that this is strategy handler. I think that's the name of what it ought to be, and I think that that's what I'm going to rename it right now. So we're going to go from git claims to strategy handler. And I don't think that there's anywhere where this should cause a problem. But we're just going to do star.js, whoops, star/star.js, star/star/star.js. Do we need to go any further than that? I think that covers it. So there's star.js, star.star.js, star/star/star. Oh, needs one more star here. Well, that should do it. Good. Now we should have 0 git claims. What if we just look for git claims without that? Yeah, so I'm going to do this one as well. We're going to swap out git claims for strategy handler. All right. And dang it, I should have stashed before I made that change, whatever. But this did not change any of the public facing API as far as I'm aware. Well, it was all underscore, so that should, yeah. And that's a local variable. Okay, so at least now that name makes more sense. That's going to be less confusing looking through the code. Yes, find name star.js will do that, but then SD, I'd have to pipe that in to find and do the exec, and yeah, you know. But this is how I do that. I do that in this fashion here. Boom. That's my preferred. I actually really don't like find. There's a couple of things that find is great for. For example, if you need to deal with the date stamp of a file, but for anything to do with string manipulation or execution, I prefer to stay away from find because its behaviors are peculiar. I know that you can get better performance if you do that, but even FD, hold on, let me just check here with the FD help. I think FD is going to give you more sane ways to interact. Let's do help. Yeah. Yeah. So I'd recommend not using find, but learning FD, because FD is cross-platform. It's going to work on Windows as well. And then it's just more modern. It's going to use the modern regular expression syntax. It's going to be more performant. But if I was writing a bash script, I probably would use find if I wanted it to be more portable. But with a lot of things, I mean, now that there's webinstall.dev, if you need a command as a dependency of a script, you can just have it install as part of the script and then not worry about it. And not have to deal with the archaic differences between BSD and GNU find, or BSD and GNU set, etc. Okay, so I think I'm in a good place here. I should just add all this stuff and call it good. So we're going to update our types. We're going to update everything in lib. Oh, and I did want to take a look at session just to poke around this a little bit more. Everything's scoped under challenge here. We've got a couple more places where we're using auth and param. I want to check that out to see if there's somewhere else where something like state should be passed through arbitrarily. Let's see if we're doing the Google flow. That's all client side. So we know whether or not we get a token right then and there. There's no exchange. The only reason for the challenge verification, challenge response type mechanisms is because, again, it can happen on two devices, so we need a way to communicate. Otherwise, you just store the state locally, and then when the process completes, you'd operate on that state. But when it can cross devices, you need that state to propagate. So that makes sense. And I do want to put something on here. Let's see, by challenge. I do want to put a limit on how much JSON could be stored. Let's see, where's the body parser? Yeah. Problem is the body parser might already happen. But I do want to put some sort of limit so that you can't have a boundless state object. And it's probably not worth doing right now. But this is what I would think that this should be. I'm just going to make a comment for it, and then we'll see if we ever actually need to implement it later. But order verification, of course, at some point we would need to implement this. But when we take a look at state, let's say to do set limits. So this could be 20 keys. Less than or equal to 20 keys, string values only, less than or equal to 1 kilobyte total, something like that. That's what I want to do with the state object. And I suppose let's see. First of all, where did I define the types for that? Was it in here? I think I put the types in here, which they shouldn't be necessarily. They should be in someplace a little bit more pulled out than that. But let's just say this should be an object rather than an any. That is slightly more clear, because that's what it accepts. Well, it could be this. It could be an object or it could be a string. I'd accept either one of those as valid, because the state could be stored somewhere else and the string might just be an ID. Okay, so let's go back to this. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Go back to this. And then here I could say if state and object is equal to type of state, because null is an object, remember. So state and object is equal to type of state. If object.keys state.length is greater than 20, which again, chosen by fair dice roll. Critical hit. No. Let max keys equals 20. I mean, that's kind of stupidly redundant, but let max length equals 1024. You know, we could do this, and we could say throw, what is it? Do we have errors in here? Do we have a bad request? This would be on the level of a developer error. Boom, 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 boom. I like that idea. Well, doing the giving it the sub shell. That's it. That's good. I like that idea. I may start using that in the future. I think that one of the reasons I hadn't done things like that is that the list of art, well, I guess it wouldn't matter, because if it's doing, it depends on your shell. I think SD would respect globs, so I could put those in single quotes and they would not be interpreted by bash, but SD might walk. I don't think SD does the walking though. I think, and in this case I'm using fish, but anyway, if I were, the problem I've had in the past with things like that is that the expansion becomes too big and then it says argument list too long, can't run. But a lot of commands such as git, when you put the globs in single quotes, the shell doesn't touch them, and then the git command actually operates on them. Okay. So this error.code equals bad request. Let's say error.status equals 400. Too many keys. Let's see, state has let's see, this is dumb. I shouldn't even be worried about this right now. I mean, it does need to be there. Keys, but should be limited to max keys. That's legitimate. And really, I think even a kilobyte is kind of a bit much. But who knows? You could have, I mean, just a couple of SHA 256 sums and you'd get there pretty quickly. But yeah, for now, I'd rather that be a bug that I have to deal with than potentially have, well, we already know that it's going to be less than 100 kilobytes anyway. I'm too forward thinking on this one, but since I'm already here, I'm going to finish it out. Object.values state dot reduce. So we'll do let size equals function 0. In and val and then what could we say? One, we could say if string not equal val. And then we could do a similar thing as this. Which, again, I think this is, it's a little bit much. All right. State should only have string values. Not, and then here we could have json.stringify, which kind of goes against my rule. I don't believe in doing, let's just do it this way. Might as well keep to my rule. Templates should not have expressions in them, period. Just values. Keep it stupid simple. All right. And then hello to those of you joining in. I'm AJ. Who are you? What brings you here to the channel? Oh, and also as people are coming and going, shameless plug, of course. Thumbs up if you got them. Thumbs down if you don't. You know, if you find this to be useful, if you find it to be, or if you like my face, appreciate it. And then there's always the subscribe button, and I do keep related and unrelated links down in the doobly-doo in terms of equipment, tools I use, yada yada. I kind of do a who to follow or pick type thing I put in there as well. Okay, so we'll take this and we'll turn this into an error message. Yeah. And then that will allow us to know that if we return in plus length, we're going to be reducing that down because string will always, type of, there we go. Because if something's a type of string, it will always have a length. And then we could do this again as well, where we say if size is greater than something, we bail. I don't feel like this is really the right place for this, but whatever, we're going to go with it for now. So if size is greater than max size, what did I call this? Max size? No. Max keys, max size. All right, then state should be constrained to max size bytes. But then, you also take the same thing with the name of the key there. So we could actually do keys. What was it? Was it N and then key, and then val is state k. So and then we do k.length plus. There we go. And then that would prevent from cheating and having values of really long lengths. Or keys of very long lengths. Okay. That's kind of silliness. And again, part of the problem here is how would I provide the escape hatch? Because at that point it pretty much becomes, well, write your own function for this. Which, isn't necessarily wrong. But it starts to lose. The bigger the interface, the weaker the abstraction. That's the principle that I'm fighting against here. That is, succinctly put, the bigger the interface, the weaker the abstraction. And the interface meaning the surface area of what needs to be known about how to use this just grew substantially. So now the abstraction is much weaker. So over time, we'll figure it out. Just moving on. All right. Yeah. Because the problem is here, so much of this is just boilerplate. I really do think that I need to pull this up to expose it. I really, really do. The only problem with that is that if I don't want to have to write this code, maybe it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Let me think about it. I like being able to use the async router in here. If this gets pulled out to the top, then I either have to say you have to use the async router, which is fine. It's a little tiny extra 50 lines of code. It's not a big deal at all. And it just does the obvious thing. Makes it so that you can use async routes, and when they throw an error, it catches them. So there's that bit. That's the one thing that I don't like about trying to pull this out. Or I could rewrite my code so that, I mean, I suppose what I could do, I don't really like the idea of doing this, but I could just wrap the whole thing in a promise.resolve and then just throw in, let's see, .then, and just throw in an async function like this. Oops. And then .catch next, right? That also is a way to do, I mean, that they're now I have an async router. Even if I don't have an async router. So maybe for these functions, I should do that. I'll have to think about it. Then I get rid of the async router dependency, and I don't really lose much. I just have this top level thing that we have to deal with. Maybe that's not so bad. Wait, why did this suddenly... Huh. What was this complaining about? Oh, it wouldn't even make sense to do the return in here, huh? Yeah, I don't really like that, but I guess we shall see. We shall see. But then I'd have to add that in there. But that might be the best way to do it. That way I can pull this up a layer. I can get rid of this tiny little bit. I mean, then it's always this exchange of where do you want to put the boilerplate. You know, the more you get rid of the boilerplate, the more you take away the user's choice to be able to modify in a moment of necessity. So, oh, what's this? Oh, it's my bedtime. My phone says. Little does it know, I haven't been paying attention to that for months. I was for a little while. Okay. All right, so that's a to-do. That's a to-do. I may go through this entire thing and get rid of async router entirely and just replace it all with the promise.resolve hack. It's not bad. Overall, it'll probably add less weight to the code than the router does, in terms of it will probably be less than 50 lines of this added over and over again. Maybe about that much. We'll see. And then some notification just popped up and I just missed it. What was that? Okay. Got distracted there for a second because I saw it popped up and then it went away. Also, I'm wondering what this thing is over here. The orange. Right now, something's messed up. Hold on. Let me check and see what this says. Nothing. Oh, the little orange indicator is letting me know that something is recording, and it's OBS. So that's the indicator to let you know that something is capturing. So Monterey gives that to you as a little indicator. So political, ideological rant for just a few seconds. I don't trust Apple any more than I trust Google or Microsoft or Facebook. I think that Microsoft and Apple might be the ones that are the most dangerous because Google and Amazon and Facebook are all blatant liars. I mean, they're really in your face about here's what we say on screen, here's what's in our terms of service, here's the government subpoenas that are now public record, or not even subpoenas, just because that actually would imply following due process, Whereas Apple and Microsoft seems to be the least political, but yet they hold a lot of control people don't quite understand. They kind of let all the bad press go to the other big tech companies that are doing really stupid social media things. Whereas Microsoft is amassing a lot of technology as part of their B2B offerings, and they seem to be staying out of the consumer space, but I don't know if they are. And then Apple, I think it's all for show. I think that it's some sort of subterfuge. I don't think they really care about people's privacy any more than they care about the environment. We're gonna give you a wireless charger that takes 4 times as much energy to charge your phone, so that we can not send you a cable that would end up in a landfill. I think they're lulling us into a false sense of security. I just don't know where the trap is. I don't know what their angle is at. But I don't, all this stuff. One day, when I disappear, it's because I figured it out and they took me. Whoever they are. But I'm not trying very hard to figure it out. Okay, end rant. But now I know what that thing's for. So at least that tells me, they're letting me know something's recording me when that's on. It just means that they're always recording something and they're only letting you know when something else is tapping into it. Anyway, let's get back focused. I'm going to take this out for now because I don't actually want to make this change yet, but I'm just going to put a to-do here. To-do. Return promise.resolve.catch next. Everything. Oops. There we go. That's what I think I'm going to do. I think that's the right abstraction. Part of me wants to do it right now. But is that going to really help me get done what I need to get done tonight, or is that going to be distraction? That's the question. This needed to get done. Pulling this out, I think, would be helpful. Does it need to get done is the question. I think pulling it out at least one layer is appropriate. So let's say we're going to return routes here, and let's pull it out at least one layer. Does anything depend on order? I don't think anything depends on these routes. I think, because that's the other thing with these abstractions where they become leaky is sometimes you depend on this particular string, that the string must be this. Oh, and with that exchange, we called that one redeem. Were we gonna? I was gonna put this in here too, right? Oh, this should be exchange, I guess. Yeah, whatever. Okay, so let's go back to routes equals. I think it's appropriate to just move this out right now. So I'm going to do that. So I'm not quite clear what this should be other than to say maybe this is returning a record, and then the type of the record is no, because create routes, I don't know. What do we call what this returns? How about I don't specify what it returns, because it's implicit. It's implicit. Kind of, sort of. Well, it's an object where every key in the object is a handler. So maybe that's object like this. Because it's not a string. I forget. I don't know what the notation is for this. If you remember the notation of this, that would be wonderful if you could tell me. But how do I say it's an object where the keys are arbitrary, don't worry about it, but the values are all of this type? If somebody knows how to do that. Otherwise, I'm just going to put it like this and then comment it out. Because it is... Let's see, how could we make sure that that's communicated? Yeah, okay, all of these are designated with handler. Yeah, so that should just automatically, I don't even know if implicit's the right word, because it is explicit. It's looking at what's assigned to this. Okay, this is what's assigned to it. So if we go back up a layer into the session, we say by challenge, and then we do this bit right here. So then we could say let routes equal, and then we can pull this out one layer deeper. And we would just prefix challenge in front of everything, and this would be okay. So we can just do like so, like that. By the way, have you heard of Tabitha Brown? She is an actress. She became a YouTube sensation during Le Rona. She is hilarious. I've only seen a few of her videos because my wife watches her on Insta What's or Whatsagram or whatever it is. But she has some funny sayings. Do like so, like that, because that's your business. Now you have a blessed day. But if you can't, don't you dare go ruin nobody else's. I'm probably doing it wrong, but she says something like that. Google's UI habits are very underhanded. Underhanded. What do you mean? I think you're referring back to when I did my rant about the same thing. I mean, I'm guessing you mean the same thing that I'm talking about here, where they, yeah, privacy, really important. Yeah, shove the data off. We're just the tech gods. Don't mind us. We want nothing more than your happiness. We live but to serve, my liege. When they present things to the user, it's not in the user's best choice for privacy. But, yeah. I honestly believe that the solution is for people to have devices in their homes. This is why, and I'm going to plug this. I'm going to plug this right now. therootcompany.com/hub. Take a look. This is what we need. I need to do a better job of communicating this. I have come into contact with someone who has invested in things like this in the past that I need. I want to be authentic, but the reason I want to develop a relationship with him is because we are aligned, I think, on certain principles, and I guess I just need to have this conversation with him. I'm going to take a break again for a second. I need to have this conversation with him. I believe that freedom will fundamentally be broken as long as the infrastructure is controlled by big tech and the economic incentives are aligned to take away freedom from individuals. The way to reverse that economic incentive is to give people greater convenience at a lower cost at something that they still will buy again. That's the tricky part, is the last bit, because people like to think that they're going to keep the thing forever and ever and ever. But in reality, we do want people to buy things again. Yeah, dark patterns, dark UI. Yep, I've heard about that. Well, I've heard of it as another term, meaning not just when the thing that you are prompted to click is to your detriment, but when it's purposefully made difficult to make a choice that is to your benefit. I guess same thing, but the inverse. It's not that the choice that is most obvious is to your detriment. It's that, so for example, if you want to unsubscribe from Audible, which is good to do. If you are subscribed to Audible, you absolutely should unsubscribe, and here's why. Because when you unsubscribe, you'll be given an option that will benefit you. You will have the option to have your costs lowered. You'll be given a discount. And if you go back, if you decide to keep it and you go back a couple days later and you go to unsubscribe again, you'll be given a different discount. And so in doing this, you can save 50% on Audible just by going to their cancellation page every once in a while and getting halfway through the process until you find a deal that you like. Or step down your subscription to, I think they will always give you the deal to go to bi-monthly rather than monthly. And then you can hang on to that and you can go through the cancellation process again, and they will still give you options. And so I've actually upgraded my plan and got and saved more money on it. And now I'm in a loop of maximum savings right now. I should probably go in and try to cancel again and see what happens. Although I wouldn't, because I think I have the best deal that they offer at any time, because you only get the deal every so often. Also, I'm really mad at Amazon, their app. Sorry, I'm totally distracted right now, and I will go back to the code in a second. But if you don't make a purchase with the Amazon app, you will get up to $50 offered to you to download and use the app. What they don't tell you is that, one, the $50 can only be used on products that are sold by Amazon. Well, they do tell you that, but it's in the fine print. And two, if you refund an item that was offered with the $50, you don't get the money back to be able to buy again. Which I guess kind of makes sense, but I had an item that I probably wouldn't, I didn't refund. I canceled the purchase is what I did. So it's not that I got it and I sent it back. It's that I realized I'd ordered the wrong thing and I canceled the purchase and I didn't get the $50 off because the $50 off was applied to the original purchase, which I canceled, and they don't give it back to you again. It kind of just made me mad. Anyway, this I think is right. This is the right level of abstraction. And I think what I need to do is take all of this up by one layer of abstraction. And I think when I do that, this will be better. It'll be more, it'll be less abstraction. It'll be more boilerplate. That's going to add another 6 lines of boilerplate. But I think it's going to be the right level of abstraction. Let's see where else we have app dot in here. App dot use, app dot 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 dot. App dot set up the parser. Yeah. So the problem is there is some conditional logic here. For example, we don't need to set up the cookie parser unless we need the cookie parser. So this bit right here, basically the documentation would probably have them do something that is, this is a little bit more optimized to do it this way because things are only loaded when they're necessary. But realistically, they're going to be necessary. And this one doesn't belong in here anyway. And cookie parser, I would rather abstract this. Because at some point, I very well may have my own cookie parser module. So I would want to not have them use this directly. Bless me. But when would they not have, this is something strange, init. Oh, because we don't want this to be set up until, I remember why this is this way. Okay, because they might do any of these things. And we don't want it to be, we don't want certain middleware to be loaded until we know for sure that they're going to need it. And the body parser, this is all only necessary for certain pieces. Imperium, hello there. Hope you're good. How is PS5 availability looking in your area? So I'm not that type of a gamer. I play Nintendo. I have no idea. I don't keep track of PlayStation or Xbox at all. I don't even, I mean, I have friends who I assume play, but I don't even know who my friends are that play. That's how far I am removed from gaming. Nintendo, GameCube, Switch, Game Boy Advance. Yeah, very not into the gamer space. Okay, so yeah, I think I do want to pull this out again. Do I want to pull it out right now? Probably not. But why was this one here? Because let me go check that app.use again. Because I'm always going to need that, aren't I? Oops. App. Let me go back up to the top. App.use. Yeah, I don't need to worry myself with that one. So this is a bunch of setup stuff. Okay. Yeah, I think this is going to be a lot better once I pull these up. Exchange. So I just don't understand though. So what's this one? Challenge. So post, how? Yeah, okay. I'm convinced. One, it's the right thing to do to pull these up a layer. It's going to add more boilerplate, but it should actually make the code more clear. And the boilerplate is just going to be copy paste. It's going to be, if you want to use these strategies, here's what you do. It's going to pull this out a bit. That's going to be a backwards incompatible change when I make that jump. I'm not going to make that jump now, but I'm convinced that I need to do it. I'm convinced that I shouldn't do it right now. So I'm just going to put another to do here. To do pull all of these up so that the boilerplate is more clear. Because the boilerplate's still there anyway. It's not that the boilerplate actually goes away, because they're still calling, for example, let me go back into the README real quick. So we're still calling, I say they, because I'm thinking in terms of any user, but yeah. So, no, was it this one? Can I go back to, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around a little bit. Yeah, let's say refresh. All right, so here, we're still calling middleware.challenge, and we're passing in these options, and then we're getting back, well, I mean, essentially what we're doing is we're just wrapping the router so that we're providing a layer of abstraction that is less common in the ecosystem, which is probably really not that great. It would be more clear to the reader and the implementer if we took the opposite approach, where we said, here's a series of middlewares, and the way that we attach them is, well, this one's a little bit different. No, it's the same in that regard. And the way that we attach them is that we did say app.use, app.use, well, I guess it'd be app.get. I don't remember exactly how it'd be app.post. Say we did it this way. We did let, OIDC equals, let's say it was like that. And then it'd be API OIDC. I don't remember what it's called, but accounts.google.com/exchange OIDC, or I guess it would just be OIDC, or use or something. So, and I guess that whole thing could just be plopped in here, and then we did the same thing here. API, Auth to GitHub, and then do the same thing. I have to take a look at those to see where the dependencies are on the routes. Okay. What are my leisure activities? Coding. Coding is a leisure activity for me, whether it's work or personal projects. Also listening to audiobooks. I used to be bigger on reading sci-fi, but now I am bigger into listening to fantasy. But I also listen to the business self-help books such as Atomic Habits. Not to say that I ever really implement any of it, but as I hear it over and over again, I pick up tiny little bits here and there. Also, I do occasionally play Nintendo. I am, at some point, I'm going to break down and just have a burnout week or two where I won't do any live streams on code. I'll just do Nintendo. That all happens at some point during the winter. How about yourself? What are your leisure activities? As far as the M1 Max, is it truly faster? Yeah, it is. Absolutely, 100%. I think part of it is the RAM, because I only have 8 gigs of RAM on the MacBook Air, and that is better than when I had 16 gigs of RAM on the 2012. But essentially with the M1 Max, I can't max out no matter how many windows I have when I do that, and it's smooth as butter. The adaptive refresh rate, you can really notice it, because when you do that, there's no, I mean, you can see it, I'm sure, in the capture more than I see it on my screen, but there's the stutter. And there's no stutter. Well, no stutter that I can perceive. Which is, that's cool. That doesn't matter. There's no warm-up time as far as I can tell from the last time I used it to when I'm using it next. Even my phone seems to have warm-up time, you know, where if I haven't used it in a while and I open it up and I go to open up an app, it kind of takes it a second to figure out, okay, what app was open? What do I need to do? The M1 Max with the 32 gigs of RAM, I'm pretty sure everything's just staying open. It's not swapping anything out. Just, and that's kind of a nice experience. So, yeah. What do I think about Vim Copilot? I don't know about Vim Copilot. Oh, and hi, Sassy. Welcome to the channel. I don't think I've seen you here before. So did they release GitHub Copilot for Vim? I'm just going to check that out real quick. I'll have to check it out. Oh, it's only NeoVim? That's cool. Interesting. Why in the world do I need NeoVim? Why don't they just use Vim 8? What's in NeoVim that isn't in Vim 8? 4 hours ago. 2 commits. Wait a minute. How could I possibly... Whoa, T Pope. Isn't he one of the dudes? Tim Pope? Is that who that is? How could I have possibly known about this? It was only just released. Less than a day ago. You're teaching me new things. I have to consider it. I don't know if I want to install NeoVim and figure out NeoVim. I guess it's supposed to be the same. It's just implemented in a different language or something. I can still use all the same plugins. Anyway, I think with this, I'm just going to do a Git Diff cached. But I think that I'm in a good place. I think that the changes I've made are net positive. So now, I'm getting kind of tired. I'm going to go to bed soon. Am I really going to go to bed soon? Oh, but yeah, I'm at least in a good enough place to make a whip commit on this. I got the most important thing is I got the state change in there, but I'm getting pretty close in terms of understanding the abstraction that needs to be here, and it's changed a lot because at first it was overly simplified. It was just there's one handler function, and you just return your claims, ba-da-da-da. But in reality, there's too many nuanced details, too many things that need configuration when it gets beyond the stupid stuff that never works anyway. But I think that this is going to end up being, for me at least, and for people that I work with, I think this is going to end up being a lot nicer than Passport in terms of it's going to meet the right layer of abstraction. It's going to help with the things that we need help with that are actually complex or have complex interactions that must be there. And it's going to not get in the way of being able to add additional custom data where we need it, or handle things in a custom way, or give a custom response. So I think that it is going to hit the right balance there. I need to talk with my buddy Ryan. Sometimes he joins in on the streams, but I don't think he's joined in recently. And I have a couple buddies Ryan, a few buddies Ryan, and this is not one. There's one Ryan that does join in on the streams and comment sometimes. Okay, how do I sum up these changes? I added the state, and I denested the verification routes. That's what I did, I think, essentially here. Git commit refactor. Denest. No, this is feature plus refactor. Add state. Add and and persist state. Let's see, verification state, and then denest verification routes. Rename git claims strategy handler. I'll call that. Must be AI. I remember you. I'm trying to remember what conversation we had. What do you think about Dash Docs for Mac? I don't know what Dash Docs is. What is Dash Docs? Dash Docs Mac. Or no, must be Al. Sorry. I remember it was Al. Must be Al. Is this what we're talking about? Or is it this? I don't know. What are we talking about? Dash. Oh, I don't do Cocoa programming. Or, oh, it looks... I have no... This looks too big. This looks way too big. Are they just parsing... Okay, so they parse lots of different languages. I don't know. I guess maybe I should check it out. I doubt I would... I hesitate to say this, but why wouldn't I just be perusing the Go package docs and the Node package docs? Why would I have a tool that... What's the usefulness of the layer of abstraction? Because it's not like I work with 200 different languages. I only work with 3 different languages, right? So why... I could see if you thought you were going to learn 100 different languages, maybe this is really cool. But I only work in 3 languages. So why would I need something that gives me a unified interface for 100 of them? I'd rather have a tool that's really specific. Now, here's something I think is cool. This extension, the Go search extension, I think that's pretty cool. And then, oh, I don't have the rest for it. No, I do have the Go search extension, the rest search extension. This parses and searches the docs. So if I want to look for file reader, boom. That's pretty cool. I like that. Although I totally don't use it enough. And there was a JavaScript one, but for some reason they couldn't get it in the App Store, and I need to go take a look. You have to install it individually. So that's that, I guess. That I think is cool. Having a separate app that presents it in a different way. I mean, maybe I should take it down and download it and give it a shot. The first one on Caply. That was the one I was working at, right? Or looking at, right? Yeah. Parses specific documentations you set. You don't have to look around Google as much. Tomato, potato. I would love it if you would do a little stream of some snippet of you doing some code where you're referencing it and showing how it's useful, or do a 5-minute overview. I'd definitely watch a 5 or 10-minute overview of it. And if you did a live stream where you're coding, I'd tune it in the background while I'm doing some code, and just kind of, have it down to my little bottom corner, and then maybe make it big when you say something that cues me in. So I'm open to learning more about it, but just looking at it, I'm not wowed. I mean, I can be wowed in terms of it's a great accomplishment to parse so many different types of documentations. It's amazing to have a project that is large like that and successful like that. But I don't, what I was just talking about here was, I'm writing a tool and there's too many layers of abstraction. I'd rather have a little more boilerplate and less abstraction. And I think that for the people that I work with, that would be better overall. And so this also, this conversation ties right into that. I'd rather have less abstraction and go directly to the core documentations and learn how to use the tools that are the tooling that's built for the language, which in the case of Node, maybe Dash would be great because there's not, ironically, great tooling for Node. Must be Al also saying, I'm still new to coding, remember? I was just seeing if you think it would be useful for me. Oh, sure. Yeah. So you're asking me what I think about it for myself versus what I think about it for you. I mean, I don't know what's right for you, but whatever helps you. I certainly wouldn't knock you for using it at all. I'm just saying for me, I prefer fewer layers of abstraction. And then Imperium asked, what's the precise difference between a git merge and a git pull? So a git merge is between two branches. A git pull is a fetch and then a merge, unless you have it set to rebase, in which case it's a fetch and then a rebase. So that's the difference. Git merge only works on things that are already downloaded. Git pull downloads and then either does a merge after the download or a rebase after the download. And I would recommend that you learn rebase, not merge, because it'll be more valuable in the long run and in the short run. Merges will screw up your commit history. Rebases will always keep your history clean. Now, when you're working between projects, you have to do merges. You can't end up doing rebases. But if you're only working within a single repository, it's not. Sometimes there's part of a project, you're making a fork of a project and it's a hard fork. If it's a hard fork, you can't do rebases on the original project successfully. But if you're making a pull request to a project, it's a soft fork for a feature, rebase is great. And I do have, if you look at the channel, I'm not going to go grab it right now, but if you look at the Beyond Code Bootcamp, so if you search YouTube Beyond Code Bootcamp, there's a playlist that is a mini course on Git, essentially, there. Okay, so with this, what did I do? I pushed that up. I'm good with that. I actually do want to see what this is here, because I'm going to take this, I'm going to bring it into this over here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We're going to get rid of all the rest of those. And then I'm going to run my npm install again. npm install -- save. Cool. Now I can make those final few changes, but I think I'm going to save it for tomorrow. I'll spend another 10 minutes on this because I've got 10 minutes to 1, but I'm going to wrap up by 1. So I can get good sleep tonight and put in a good effort tomorrow and make sure that this actually ships tomorrow. Because it should have shipped yesterday, but As you may recall, yesterday during the day, I was just out of it. For those of you that joined in. And I'm going to give another link to the Discord while I'm looking at messages for work. And I have my work messages in my Discord on the same screen over here. For those of you that want to join in on the Discord, here you go. Yeah. Okay. It said Go search extension seems pretty nice. Dash does the same thing too. Yeah. So as a one-off, I see the value of it, but this is, and if you're beginning coding and you're not really sure what you're getting into yet, I think it could give you a lot of value to have exposure to different styles of documentation and languages so that you hopefully can grasp concepts more quickly as you're able to compare and contrast. Because people say, I think that comparing apples to oranges is appropriate because they're both fruits and they have differences in the way they are colored and similarities, and they have differences in the way that they taste and similarities. I think comparing apples to apples is too similar. It's hard to grasp the concept of what an apple is if all you have are apples to compare it to. But if you have other fruit to compare an apple to, it becomes more clear what an apple is. I think the same thing with programming languages. If you are only learning just one programming language, I think you should focus on 2 or 3 programming languages that you focus on. But if you're only learning one programming language, then you're not really learning programming because your mindset is too scoped too narrowly. Whereas if you're exposed to multiple different programming languages and you learn how to do a few different hello worlds and you take that exploratory time, then that starts to give you the confines of what programming is and gives you the ability to compare and contrast more broadly than, the quote apples to apples comparison. You get the apples to oranges comparison where you can understand what the true benefits of one versus the other are. Because the apples to apples comparison is more, how do I tell good JavaScript code from bad JavaScript code? And if I'm looking at good Go code, actually that'll help you write good JavaScript code. But let's say I'm looking at good Java code, that's not necessarily going to lead you to writing good JavaScript code. Or if I'm looking at good Rust code, that's not necessarily going to help you to write good JavaScript code. But if you're looking at good JavaScript code, it'll help you to write good JavaScript code. That would be an apples to apples comparison because you're trying to discern between levels of goodness within a language. But if you are comparing across, doing the apples to oranges comparison, that's giving you the grander perspective of what is the realm of programming. Okay, so I need to capture state, and I need to put the template into the state here too. Okay. Yeah, all right. So what can I do in the next 10 minutes? Let me just take it one thing at a time. Going through a list is often really helpful for productivity. So I'm going back all the way to the thing I was doing the other day, new user to account. Okay. Because tomorrow morning, I want to be at the point of saying, hey, I got it implemented. I'm just fixing bugs. Wait a minute. I'm so confused right now. I'm very, very confused. I'm very, very confused because I could have sworn that I had already handled this. New user to account. Oh, there's two places where this exists though. New user to account. Ah, there it is. So I do need to fix this one as well, or update it rather. It's not that it was broken as much as that I'm unifying. Okay. So let's go back. We're not doing this hook thing. Here's what we're doing. We're going to add, we're going to take state and we're going to add some arbitrary stuff onto it. And so that's going to have the template. And it's going to have account ID. Really, it should be whatever's in the request in state, I think, is what the idea was. Rec, yeah. Okay, let state equals rec.body.state. Or, not a lot of enchilada. Object.assign. Let's do this here. Account ID. Okay, I think this is right. And we need to do npx base tag link. Oh, dang it. I've been using bash. Typically switch over pretty quickly once I realize I'm still using bash. I don't like to make fish my default shell on servers because, well, especially if anybody else logs in other than me. Just because if somebody doesn't realize that it's fish and they copy and paste some bash and that doesn't work, it could be confusing. And I don't like things that require sudo. And to change a user's shell requires sudo. So I typically set it in the shell, or the terminal, rather than setting it in the shell. Let me get back over to the comments, though, so I can see what's coming in here. And hello, for those of you joining in, I'm AJ. I am going to head off in hopefully about 5 to 10 minutes here. But since you have joined in, I would love to know who you are, where you're from, and what brings you to the channel today. We are a friendly sort of people, I think. I'm not really sure who we are. We're still figuring that out. But we are Legion, and we are growing. So welcome to Legion. I would never call something Legion. That sounds so stupid. One day I'll call something Legion, and I'll regret this day, and someone will throw it in my face. Okay, so this is good. Okay, but here, for the sake of this verification.template, is that fair to put there? I think it is. Of course, the other thing about Legion is that Legion were the bad guys in the movie and in the real story. Okay. Email vars, verification is going to be set there. Yeah, this all looks good. So I'm going to take this bit that now has the state in it, and I'm going to bring it over to what was it, admin? And then in the create admin, it's a little bit different because of there's certain things you don't have access to here. Yeah. So I'm going to bring this up here. Just call this let invitee equals. And then is it that we don't have the user here? There's something that we don't have here in particular. The user is null. That's the big one. And the reason user is null is because this is, if I remember correctly, this is sudo more than it's admin. I'm trying to disambiguate terms as we update the code base. So we, as support people on the back end, doing things that no one that is just an outsider of the company. So there are admins to an account, but those are the owners of the account and the admins of the account. And we are not admins, we are sudo, because we have the power to, if there's a support ticket and something's wrong with someone's account, we can do whatever we need to do with their account. And there's a couple of common things that need to be done as part of, could be the sales process where it's not even fixing a problem, it's just automating mechanical turking something for someone. And so I've been trying to disambiguate terminology wherever I can. And so sudo means us, admin means them. And sudo, of course, has more privileges and ability to do things and stuff. All right. All right, so if not user, and then the user's going to be, but I think this is new user. Let me go back a few steps and just take a look at it the way that it stood on its own. I think this is the new user that's being invited to the thing. Because this is new user to account. And so here user is nothing and invitee is something, and invitee is being found. So this would be invited user, I think is what I call it elsewhere. Let me go double check on that. Oops. And this one, invited user. Yeah, so I'm going to go with that over here as well. Not to be confused with so it's the system is inviting them because of some event that has happened. All right, that refers to the user that couldn't be there. So this is invited user. And then invited user versus invitee, because invitee is not a user object, it is details about the invitation. So I guess we could say invitation. I don't know. And I think I saw a comment. I'll check it out in just a second. Okay, so that should be solved thus far. Okay, this should have an await, unless it really shouldn't have an await. but there's a throw here, so it must have an await, because if you throw and there's no await, then you literally are doing nothing. Well, you're causing the server potentially to crash if you're running the newer version of Node. Yeah, so same thing here. That should have an await. What do we got? Are we using COC? So I don't use COC. I do have... Oh, it's not enabled in this one. I don't find a lot of value in completion. I do like it in a typed language when you get the code hints. But right here, it would all be wrong anyway. I do like it when I'm using Go, when it auto-completes the standard library. But it's very, very... I don't feel that it saves me much time to have auto-completion. Because when you have auto-completion and you want to hit tab because you need a tab, I've said this before, but I just don't find a lot of value in it, because it's not that I'm a particularly slow typer. I'm not hunting and pecking on my keyboard. You know, there have been a few times when I felt that my typing was slowing me down, that I could have written a program faster. But my problem there was that I didn't have a cheat sheet. That I had too much stuff that was repetitive that I already knew what to do, and I didn't have it codified in a place that I could copy and paste it in, you know. So, but I do sometimes appreciate it. But I find sometimes it's really slow. I hate it in VS Code. I don't like the way VS Code does it at all. I see people using VS Code, and I don't know how they do it, where there's all these, type parameters inserted all over the place, and I can't tell what's actually code and what's hinting stuff, and then I'm trying to type and it's trying to suggest things that aren't relevant to what I'm trying to type. That really, really bugs me. But again, I'm thinking about it JavaScript in VS Code. I don't know that I've done it with Go in VS Code, but my experience with the Go auto-completion has been mostly good. I just need to tweak it a little bit so that it doesn't do some stupid things. But I will say that it's been mostly good for that. All right, so we're going to not have this one in here. We are creating the invited user. Why are we creating the invited user? Because we're going to send them an email. Okay. And then, all right, I'm going to go back a few steps to here where I am creating all of this. Okay, so now I'm going to bring this back in again. This is the exact same thing that I already had in here. I'm just going to add a few more new lines. All right, that should, I wanted a few more new lines, whatever. So it's going to gripe at me a little bit. Uh-oh, what's happening? Okay, nothing's happening. So invitee. I'm going to define that just right up here. Let invitee equals. So we already did this. I'm just redoing it again because I wanted to make sure that some of my assumptions were correct. So I deleted this stuff. We're also going to say, I'm going to use template name a couple of times. So TMPL name is what we're going to put here. And then up at the top here, I'm going to do let TMPL name equals, put that in there. And then, oh, do we not have a request object here? Oh, that puts a damper on things. Interesting. So what needs to be in this, if I recall correctly, is just headers and IP. So IP we can put in as 127.0.0.1. And then headers, we can put in user agent is going to be, or I guess this is supposed to be lowercase, I think. So user agent, we could just say master control. Let me see what we got here. So you're laughing about VS Code? Why are you laughing about VS Code? It is what most people use. I think it is a good tool. It's not my preference. I think that I think everybody should learn Vim. I think that Vim should be a standard, required, no ifs, ands, or buts tool that you should be able to navigate around and be decently proficient in. I don't think you need to know 100,000 things in Vim. I think you should know the 10 things that you should know anywhere. And I guess that's one of the nice things about VS Code is it does have these auto suggestions that if you just don't click block, you'll get the things that you should have. The thing that blows my mind is that people don't accept the tools that VS Code is suggesting, which it does a good job of suggesting the industry standard tools for your code formatting. And it just blows my mind when I see people that have their spacing and tabs are all weird in 2021, you know, whether it's Vim or whether it's VS Code or whatever it is. By the way, Sassy, are you familiar with webinstall.dev? I'm going to link you to Vim Essentials. This is how I set up any server in a matter of seconds for me to be able to work with it. Vim Essentials is one of the reasons that Vim is a go-to for me. All right, so I need to take a look at this. So I need to look at the verifier create. Lib verifier. And then I need to go. Okay, what do we need rec for? We need rec for user agent and IP and what else? That's it. That's all we need it for. To do require package.json .name. Is that what it is? Package.json .name, right? .name version. We could do that. We just put that in here. That'd be all right. Okay. Let pkg equals. Then we can just do pkg.name. pkg.version. There we are. Works for me. I don't know why I'm sneezing. Oh, it's because I'm staying up too late. That's why. That happens when I stay up too late. I start sneezing a lot. So I can track my wellness. npx base tag link. Is this set correctly now? Okay, good. All right, so we want some state here. There is no state here. The only state is, I don't know what the state would be. Account ID. Resource ID. And this is good too, because now I've got a verification that can be used outside of the typical request response cycle. And I was thinking earlier that I might want to orient this, and I might want to orient some of this around events rather than request response cycle. Why would it have a problem in reading this? Is that not? It is at the base root of the project, right? Yeah. I think that that's the type linter is just whining for no good reason there. Type linting is helpful, but some of my same arguments apply here. The type linting can be just as annoying as it can be helpful. Its false positive rate is pretty high. I really do wish, I've said this before, I wish that TypeScript would have been more focused around JavaScript than C#, because they kind of really did a half-hearted attempt at making it work for JavaScript and put most of their effort in creating new syntaxes to adapt C# to JavaScript. And what we really need, it should have been people that were on the Go team or Go aficionados should have been the ones creating TypeScript, because Go and JavaScript actually, as far as the language fundamentals go, forget what's happened in the last 5 years with JavaScript and all the craziness of adding every possible feature from every other language, and instead look at where JavaScript came from and its humble beginnings and the beauty of its simplicity, and then compare that with Go and JavaScript. That if you write JavaScript in the way that you write Go, you will be happy. You'll die a happy man or woman. It is an amazingly natural fit. Trying to shoehorn C# into JavaScript, I don't know why someone would subject themselves to that. It just seems absurd. Okay, we're going to get rid of this. We still have all of this bit. Password digest. Oh, what we're doing with the temp password there? Yeah, I don't necessarily begrudge that. That makes sense. I suppose we do, in fact, want to set the temporary password onto this. Verification dot temp password. Okay, but we don't want that to live anywhere. This we do want. Let's do this then. Object dot assign verification. Oops. We need. Yeah. We don't want temp password to go in there. We do want temp password to be here, and then we want TMP password. There we go. That seems appropriate. And then we can have TMP password here, all as well. Okay. And then account, invitee, user null, verification, temp password, but there's going to be more than that. So then this would become email vars. Yeah. Email vars. Boom. All right, I think that wraps up that bit. And then I'm going to go to bed. Okay, what is it that's true? So just remember, because there's time in between when you make a comment, when I see it, I often lose the context by the time I look over. And even if we're right on the ball with each other, there's a 15-second delay in the stream. But yeah, you gotta leave. All right, well, thanks for stopping in. It was great to have a conversation with you. I guess you might already be gone because that was just right now, so maybe you're not gone yet. But anyway, yeah, it was great to have the conversation. I'm glad that you joined in. Thanks. And to everybody else, y'all have a good night. Give it a thumbs up if you found anything useful, if any of this was insightful, even if you disagree with it, but it gave you that stepping stone to be able to form your own opinion better. Because I think it's more important that you have a foundation for a defensible position than it is that you agree with my position. But hopefully you have defensible positions. And so if any of this side chatter helped you in that, would appreciate the thumbs up. And of course, you can always give a thumbs down if you, every thumb helps. So we can do that. Yeah, you're welcome, Will. You're quite welcome. So yeah, I'm at a position now where when I go back to this tomorrow, there's a couple more changes I need to make, but staying up later to do them isn't going to help me at all. Whereas getting a good night's sleep will. And something I was going to say about, I don't know, thumbs up, click all the things, subscribe if you want to do that. With the, click the bell for personalized recommendations or to get everything. And with all of that, again, I think I put the Discord in the chat recently. Yeah, the Discord was in the chat pretty recently. So if you're interested in joining in on the Discord, come and say hello. And one final thing, which I'll put in here again. If you do want to see yesterday's unboxing and developer setup of the M1, I actually did 2 developer setups yesterday, and there's a couple things I noticed that I missed out on or forgot, which I'll maybe do in another video. I just made a quick note of them, and I have it written down. But I did the M1 Max unboxing and developer setup, and then when I went back to do the 2015 MacBook Pro, I think that one went a bit quicker, and I touched on all the same points in terms of the developer setup because I just done it. I might have even touched on 1 or 2 more. I don't think I missed any. But yeah, I think there are some gems between those two. Pick one or pick the other one. If you want to see the M1 unboxing, pick that one. If you just want to see how I set up a new Mac for my personal settings as well as the developer experience, then check out the MacBook 2015 video on the channel that's from yesterday. All right, anyway, with all that, y'all have a good night, day, whatever it is, wherever you are. Have the best one ever. And I will catch you around. Again, thanks so much for everybody that chatted. I really enjoy the chat. I really like that. Comments and questions and all that below. Adios. Rage shortcut key click.